Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, that time of the week when we discuss and look back and perhaps look forward at all the action over the week. Of course, it's very much Derby time. We are after witnessing the second round of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby over the weekend, when 96 became 48. And it's at this point in the Derby where things really start to get serious. That said, some brilliant performances over the weekend, and one or two dogs, it seems, have already taken things seriously. I'm joined by BoyleSports Sarah Kinsella. We've been warned to be nice to her this week. I didn't think I was not nice to you last time, Sarah, but we might sneak in one or two little jibes. Her cat has been moved out of the room, so there'll be no interruptions at any point. And returning from his Buddhist retreat in Tibet, Tommy Lyons, down in his base. The exile dub is back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to say that. Tommy, welcome back. I suppose you've been keeping up to date on all the action. How's the Wi-Fi in Tibet?
It's not too bad. We had a bit of trouble with it there for about 12 weeks now, but we're not too bad. We're back again, Ian. Yeah, but I've been keeping up with it all right. It's been good. Just to show that things haven't changed when I've been away. We can start talking about the bitches again and how good they are.
Yeah,
we talked about them for the last year, and they're just a phenomenal bunch, and they're showing that in the Derby, which is great.
Yeah, one by one, they just all seem to perform from start to finish. Even the ones that qualified, didn't win, ran very, very well.
Yep.
Sarah, as a lady, you must be chuffed. I know you have the apple of your eye is in there. You know, the likes of the Susie Sapphires, Ballymac Ariel, all these. They're just stunning ladies.
Yeah, I love to see loads of bitches in the Derby. It just adds that extra bit of excitement to it. I think it's still 7-2 for a bitch to win the Derby. And look, we talk about this all the time. It is a hard thing to do, but I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get a better chance than this year to do it. There's a seriously strong lineup remaining in there. Like, look what Scooby Princess done at the weekend. She was just sensational. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see so many bitches left.
Yeah, we're not going to go through all the heats one by one, Tommy, because we'd be here all day and all night, and it just doesn't really make for great podcasting. What we'll do is we'll refer to all the various dips and groups. I suppose we might as well start with the three that did the fast runs. You had Explosive Boy on Saturday night was the last of the three. Prior to that, 15 minutes earlier, Ballymac Ariel. And the night previous, we had Scooby Princess. 3 29:40 runs, three very talented greyhounds. I suppose Ballymac Ariel, Explosive Boy, very similar in their style of running. Scooby Princess looked very similar to them in a fact where she popped out, got to the corner and ran from the front. But that's not normally her style, but she has been a credit to her connections. It's amazing how well she's kept to perform through the year.
Yeah, she's been absolutely fantastic. Actually, I love that performance from Scooby Princess. I thought she showed a bit of class to get around the bend. I mean, she wasn't favourite in her heat or anything like that. Like, and she had to be determined. She had to drive on the first turn and did it well. She has been running exceptionally well before the Derby, even, you know, and she ran up in the Oaks, I think she was, while I was in Tibet, and she's just been in great form all year. And so these performances are no surprise to me. Maybe a little bit surprised sometimes, I think, when 2 nights in a row that the clocks are pretty similar. You know, normally the track can be slightly different because of the weather, because of whatever else that happens. So it probably opens it up a little bit, the whole Derby. Like the fact that they're like, you know, Explosive Boy did everything right, did 29:40, she did 29:40. Ballymac Ariel, was it 29:40, was it? Or she close behind. I mean, they're all exceptionally good, and it makes me wonder what's going to win the Derby, and I'm afraid I haven't figured it out quite yet. I hope you have.
No, not quite. The track itself, as you said, there was a lot of dogs around the sort of same 2-3 length sort of area. You know, there was a number of 29:50s and thereabouts, and there was a couple of outliers, a couple of messy contests. One was won in over 30 seconds, another one at 29:90, but both had you know, displays of real note in them. Sarah, Scooby Princess, getting back to her, you know, while there will be tougher tasks ahead, she's not going to lead into the corner in most heats. She's still there with a live swinging chance for perhaps yet another O'Donnell success in a Derby.
Yeah, she was just, as I said earlier on, she's sensational. I have her prices here beside me, 14s from 25-1 now. So look, there was plenty of support for her even before the Derby, but not as much as your Explosive Boys and your Jack Little Thing. But after that performance, you have to put her right up there with the best, because I haven't seen her break like that in quite some time. I know she does it every now and again, but even if you go by her sectionals, she done a 3:48 on Saturday, and the week previous she done a 3:54. So she's getting faster, and that was a career best as well. Her best time in the Derby last year was 29:47. So she's improved a length, if you want to look at it that way. But like, what a job by Jennifer O'Donnell. And she wasn't the best, I think, before the Derby. She had been withdrawn one night there on the card. She was off her dinner, and she had already done 5 or 6 wins in a row before that. And she runs at different tracks. She takes it so well. I know she runs off that last bend in Shelbourne Park a little bit wide, and you're kind of like holding your breath. But she powers home. I just loved everything about her at the weekend, especially beating the likes of Ballymac Ariel. It's not easy to pull away from a dog like that either. So there's just so much to take away from that performance.
Yeah, I suppose that's the feature of the run, Tommy, is the fact that she was a length in front of the third bend. It was the way she put the daylight between herself and Ballymac Ariel around those last 2 bends that was so decisive, so purposeful.
There was 2 things about it. What I mentioned a second ago was that first bend, the way she drove the bend to hold the position to get. She was probably 3 parts of the length going in front, going into the bend, and drove to get the length out of it. And then, as you say, she picked up again. She's beaten Ballymac Ariel, who is he's just a brilliant dog for competitions. If you're beating him, he's probably the best gauge in the whole country in greyhound racing. If you're beating him, you know you're doing something that's right out of the very top drawer. She has a good draw next week too. So I think out of track 1 with Epic Hero and 2 with Deerjet Sydney, might be coming in. Ryan will be coming in, but I think she's quick enough to lead Epic Hero, and he might even be the foil. He might be what maybe might help her, protect her from Deerjet Sydney and Broadstrand Ryan. So I think it's actually a decent draw for her next week. So hopefully she will progress. I think there are 7 or 8 bitches left in the competition at this stage, which is quite remarkable. I think a good few of them will qualify. They actually have good draws.
Yeah, and it's the feature of those 7 or 8, Sarah, is that there's none that you can say are no hopers. They all have a real class and pace.
Which this is for Scooby's Heat, is it?
No, with all the bitches remaining in the stake, 7 or 8.
Sorry, yeah. Like, it's just, like, where do you even start? Like, even Sing Along Sally, she's getting stronger with every run. Susie Sapphire, she has that excellent early pace that's going to get her through so many rounds. Scooby Princess, it was sad to see Ballymac Beanie go out, obviously, but Ballymac Art, another one that I wrote her price down 33 to 1 from 40s. I can't believe she was even 40s, to be honest with you. And I know that before the Derby, she hadn't ran over a 550 in Shelbourne, but there was no fear that she wasn't, she was always going to stay the trip. But I'm a massive fan of that Ballymac Art. I just think she's one to keep an eye on at the bigger prices. Yeah,
we will be looking at the heats a little bit later on. But Ballymac Art, it's hard not to be impressed by her draw. You'd fancy her chances of probably leading around the corner. As we've seen, if she leads around the corner, she's going to be very hard to stop. Explosive Boy, Tommy. Explosive Boy came in for floods of support in the week up to the Derby. He had always been popular through the year, of course, but it was that last sort of 1 or 2 sort of bookmakers put their heads above the pulpit and went sort of 16, 14. That was quickly disappeared. 12, even BoyleSports had him on the right side because they had seen loads of support over the previous month or 2. He was 8 to 1 on the Monday morning. He was 6 to 1. And that wasn't just by caution, it was floods of support by all accounts. And Explosive Boy went into the Derby as the hottest favourite. I can certainly remember Clare's Rocket was around 7 to 1. Explosive Boy was, I think he was 7 to 1 in one spot, but you needed to really go search for it to find it. He's done little wrong. Pat Guilfoyle, said after the race the other night that he's where we want him to be. I think we're all agreed, all 3 of us, that Pat Guilfoyle is an absolute expert at this. He brings his dogs into a competition just a slightly bit undercooked. He knows when he needs to do a little bit more. He's facing a very tough heat the next night, but by all accounts, the way he's going, it just looks so professional and everything seems to be on target.
I was going to say he'd have to do a little bit more next week because that is a cracking heat. He is because, he's doing 29.40, 29.47 the previous week, and we suspect with his ability he'll do 29.10 some night if all things go right. The track is in good condition. He gets a perfect break. His sectionals 3.40, 3.46 are fine. The type of sections that could get you in trouble in a real hot heat.
He did 3.30. He did 3.38 the other night.
Down on the.
It might be on the card as 3 something or other, but it was definitely.
The card
it was definitely
3.46. Yeah.
Card was 3.46.
Yeah, it was 3.38.
3.38. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a bit more sense because the way he was able to get clear. He's going to improve. He's better than that. He's the type of dog that could go down into close to 3.30. That's what he could do. We've seen him do it in competition. That similar split. It's Pat saying where he wants him to be is a great thing to hear if you've supported him. I thought obviously just before the offing the price was pretty short. Yeah, but he's definitely the right favourite because he's done it through competitions in the past. He's the one you think you'd have your life on, that he's going to break from the boxes. He's going to do things right. He's 4-1. I'm not going to be rushing in to back him. I haven't had a bet in the Derby, and I'm not going to have a bet on him at 4-1. But if you ask me, do I want to back him at 4-1 or Jack Stilton at 5-1, 9-2, 5-1? You have to go with him, just because I think you know what you're going to get every time. So I'd expect, as you said about Pat is well able to improve him through the competition, and that's going to happen. It's funny to see his price in the last two heats, 2-9 and 1-8. That'll tell you kind of what the tasks he had at hand. So we probably wouldn't read a lot into them, but from a point of view, if you backed him anti-post, or if you are his connections, if you're involved with the Greyhound, you're delighted to see those sort of heats to run. They're pretty soft in many ways for a dog of his ability, that he can just kind of pop out, no concerns about getting trouble or anything like that. So he's basically coasted through to this round. He is a deserving favourite. I'm not backing him at 4-1. I won't be backing that price, but I do understand it.
Yeah, well, the advice would be, Sarah, looking at his heat the next night, if you are going to back him for the Derby, wait till next week. Even if he's only 3-1 next week, it's a better price than 4-1 this week, because next week's heat is, like, it's pretty sensational. As you were drawing them out, you must have been going, looking through your fingers going, I'm going to get some abuse from someone here.
I know, and I was even forgetting to roll the drum, because I kept looking at it going, oh, this is seriously juicy heat. Like, you've got Ballymac Ariel, Priceless Jet, Jacob Tashidlek. There's just so much early pace. If it's a race that he's going to go out in, it's going to be this one, because
one would almost be suspicious that the dog that's really losing your fortunes has been thrown into absolutely red hot heat. Was there a red lipstick mark on the envelope or anything?
Here, don't go down that road. You have people complaining now. It was all a rig just to get the big loser out of the book. Look, if he didn't win his heat at the weekend, you'd be worried, wouldn't you? Like 1-8, as Tommy was saying, like he had to win. And it is a good point that Tommy makes as well, because they are soft heats. And no disrespect or offense to the other dogs, but look what he's done in the past. You know what I mean? So he justified his short odds. He's been cut into 7-2 from 5-1 again since that performance. Actually, I apologise. He was cut before he even ran. He was actually cut after Jack's Little Thing ran. I think Explosive Boy's price was cut before he even ran at the weekend. So do you know what I mean? That's just goes to show the support that's coming for him. Unless Damien Lonergan is just cutting him to, I don't know, but look, maybe Damien can answer that better than me.
As Damien ages, he gets a bit more cautious. Tommy, the 1-8, I made him a 10 on. I probably could have gone a 12 on. 12.5% interest. I've seen worse 1-8 chances.
You wouldn't get it in the bank, and literally if you backed him, it was in the bank after about 2 strides. So yeah, he's just a professional, isn't he? He's brilliant. He's brilliant to watch.
Ballymac Ariel 29.40, Sarah. There's not many more superlatives to use to describe her, but it is notable that her very, very best form has always come at Shelbourne Park. I've said it twice or 3 times over the last fortnight. If she was mine, she'd never step foot out of the place. Again, it was another foot perfect display the other night.
Yeah, she was brilliant. I think her sectional to the third bend was faster as well, a 17.03 I think she done. So she was really cruising. That's just spectacular to watch. She did run a bit disappointing in Toaster. That's not her fault. She just didn't take to the track or didn't have a bit of luck. But coming back to Shelbourne Park really is her favourite place. She loves it. She runs brilliant there. Liam Dowling has just such a strong kennel. They're just great to watch. You know that they're always going to run their best race and they're going to be so consistent. They never run bad. And again, she's another hot favourite that you'd be worried if she hadn't have won that heat at the weekend. So look, it's just all systems go now. She's, I think, 12-1 from 14-1. Not a huge cut, but she's still a huge price. And I'd be backing her over Explosive Boy and over Jack's Little Thing just for value.
No, you're wrong. She's 8. She was 12 last week. I think she was 14-12 last week, and now she's 8-1.
I have her here in front of me.
Third choice in. Like that seems to about express her chance, Tommy. An 8-1 chance, a bitch, in single figures after 2 rounds of the Derby. It just goes to show how good she is.
She's doing 29.40 in her sleep. I mean, she's just coasted around it. She look, we know from when she qualified sub 28 seconds, which was ridiculous. Like that's the ability been there. There was a concern that she that she wasn't quite right earlier in the year, and that would we ever see her right? And I know the point you make about Shelbourne. She has thrown in a couple of races in Shelbourne where she hasn't been at her very best. But yeah, in general, her best form is there. She's just watching her last week. It was just so simple. Just for her. And actually, you know what? I know we're going to go into the detail of next week's heats later on, but it's actually quite a good draw for her because Explosive Boy will be gone. Jake Tashidlek will probably be gone. Price of Jet shouldn't really concern her early. She's capable of at least holding her own with him. So she could get a toe into the race from the Explosive Boy. And what a cracking contest it could be if she's a length and a half down halfway.
Yeah, just looking at the clocks there, Sarah, the fact that she was 3 spots fast or slower to the first line, but then she's 8 spots quicker than Explosive Boy. For any greyhound, male, female, non-binary, whatever, to make up we have to now, Tom, we have to cover all bases these days. To go 11 spots faster from the winning line to the third bend than Explosive Boy, that's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and I suppose there was who was I talking to on Saturday night? They had said that out of all the front dogs in the betting, Explosive Boy doesn't have the best middle pace. So if you have him leading, which you probably will, and she gets a run at him, she's going to take him over down the back straight.
Well, she's going to try to know. It's going to be still hard enough to pass him.
Well, yeah, but if you go by the figures, it should be that she'll lead him into then and take over the lead at the third bend and power home because, let's face it, Explosive Boy is not the best stayer in the world. He gets the trip. But I wouldn't like to see Ballymac Ariel a length off his arse coming off the last bend because I tell you, I think she'll beat him. Just putting that out there.
Between non-binary greyhounds and
that's the beauty of it. Is you have to have
welcome back, Tommy. Welcome back, Tommy.
I'm back to going off to the bet again for another 12 weeks.
It is worth pointing out that Explosive Boy, I'm just confirming, he was the second fastest sectional to the third bend. 17:11 is the second fastest. But I suppose in contrast to what I'm saying about her being 11 spots faster from the winning line to the third bend, the fact that they're both, he's doing 17:11, she's doing 17:03, he actually came home faster than her. He came home 8 spots faster than her. So I think that's been the feature of Explosive Boy through this Derby. If he hadn't run the Race of Champions, he would have been a considerably bigger price for the Derby. He would have been a 16-1 chance. But it was the fact that he proved that the 550 down in Tralee certainly wasn't a problem, Tommy, that we got the impression, this is why he's Derby favourite, because we now know, apart from the brilliant early speed, he also stays the 550.
You don't have to stay 550 to win a Derby anymore. The track is generally...
You're just stealing my line from last year.
No, you don't. You just don't. You just don't anymore. But as I said already, Ballymac Ariel is doing that time in her sleep. I suspect if they were neck and neck at the third bend, I'd fancy Ballymac Ariel every time.
Okay.
That'd be my opinion. I'm reading the clocks. I think Liam Downey is an expert. We talk about Patrick Guilfoyle being able to do it. An absolute expert at he's done it with so many Derby finalists over the years, that to get them to that point and to have a chance, you have to get them to creep through it. I think she does that in her sleep. I think she's an amazing bitch. And that's not to say she's going to go and win a Derby. You still need a bit of luck from here. And if we look at how hot the heat is next week, it's going to be even hotter the following week, likely. So she will need a little bit of luck. And again, going back to the point about Explosive Boy, he's the one you'd set your clock by to break and be out of trouble, whereas she mightn't necessarily do a 341 or 342 or whatever. She might do a 350 some night and be in a bit of trouble. So with a clear run, she does 29.40 in her sleep. And so Explosive Boy would probably have to dip to 29.20 next week to beat her.
Yeah, I know there was the 29.10 in the opening round, but by all accounts, I think the track is probably 20 back from where it was this time last year in terms of, there were so many dogs doing so many runs last year. This year, you can see there's dogs still doing massive runs, but they're just not doing the massive clocks. The 29.10 was a real outlier. That came just a few minutes after a shower. The track had been well plated. He had the very best conditions, Jacob Tashidlek, or Jack's little thing, beg your pardon, Jack's little thing to do that run. We saw a different Jack's little thing the other night, and we're going to work down through a few in the list because we have a lot of ground to cover. I want to review a few of the contests over the weekend, one or two in particular. But Jack's little thing, Sarah, he has been introduced as second favourite after that brilliant opening round effort. Not quite as pleasing on the eye in terms of crash bang wallop in the second round, but very impressive all the same, but in a very different manner.
Yeah, very different manner, and that's kind of, you take away from that as well, because he can do it coming from behind as well. He doesn't have to lead, so that's what I liked about his performance. And he's 5-1 from 6-1, but I think his time is 29.71. I think in his heat, 3:44 sectionals and 17:41. So, and still winning. He had to kind of dig in deep to win, but look, 3-10, he kind of had to win at those odds too. Again, just like Explosive Boy and Ballymac Ariel, you'd be worried if they weren't winning at those odds. So. Look, I think Coulivanny Chick, she's getting fitter as the weeks go by. She put in a good performance in that Coulivanny Sando as well. I didn't rate that to qualify, to be honest. So that's another one for Nelius O'Connell through, is 33-1 in that heat. But yeah, I mean, what more can you say about Jack's Little Thing? He's ticking all the boxes, 5-1 to win the Derby. I'd say now, after this weekend's third round, depending on what happens, you can't see Jack's Little Thing take over from Explosive Boy, because I think Jack's Little Thing has an easier heat this weekend.
He seems to have a considerably easier heat, Tommy, but I don't think there's juice in the price, 5-1. I was very, very impressed with him over the previous matter of weeks, but the other night, just he was left a little flat-footed, and only for the company he was keeping, he would have been in trouble.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I, in my foolishness, had a bet on Coulivanny Chick to be the top bitch in the Derby. I'm now regretting it, but anyway. She actually ran very well the other night, to be fair to her, but she just beaten by a better greyhound. Jack's Little Thing has a way of winning races. He has a way to find a winning race, and his form from the previous week was boosted by Atlakazeti, who won his heat last weekend, which is, it's kind of nice. But as you said, the issue is he went from 336 to 350 if the sections are right. That's 2 lengths early. That's huge. 356 or 350, sorry, gets you in an awful lot of trouble. In particular, and not even from second round on, it gets you in real trouble from now on. Real trouble if you're going to be doing that. Now he has got a great draw, and he is a winning machine. Like, he's 10 from 19, which is pretty good. Now the concern, if you're looking at his form in basic terms, you would say that he when he's not winning, he tends to be out of the frame, which is a little bit of a concern. All right, he's not finishing in the frame enough, maybe, but he did stay on well behind Ballymac Ariel one night. He has the capability of getting out of a little bit of trouble, but I wouldn't like to see it as he should be fine next week. He should be a short price to win next week. But after that, I begin to get worried. I think 9-2 is really, really short.
Yeah, he is after posting 4 wins in a row in Shelburne Park.
Yeah.
His first, he had 4 races in Shelburne and suffered defeat in 3 of them. Now 2 of them were at the hands of Ballymac Ariel and 1 to Deadly Destroyer. But he's now 4 in a row. And I suppose if you look at those sectionals, he has 346, 341, 338, 350 when 4th Deadly Destroyer, 342, 343, that 336. And then the 350 is a bit of an outlier. So he just seemed to come out on his hinds a bit, Sarah. Just took him that few strides to get going. But we know he is a very natural starter. I suppose if you are taking him on as a bookmaker, you're hoping he's going to produce another one of those starts in hot company. But by all accounts, if he keeps reproducing his 338s and 336, he's going to be bang there in contention against the very best.
Yeah, he is, but that's the problem. You're getting to the stage of the Derby now where everything around him is nearly doing the same thing. So he has to show that extra bit of special spark to win. As Tommy said, and I agree with him, he's going to have, coming from behind at this standard now in the Derby, is going to be a very hard thing for him to do. So that early pace is lethal, and it's crucial for him to get through and even to make the final. Look what he done on the night he won the Champion Plate, 29-31. That was really, really special. But you could argue, okay, maybe the company that he was in with wasn't the best, so he's now going up all the time.
Yeah, I suppose, but you could also argue at the same time that if he'd produced that run to Champions League final, he'd be Champions League winner.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, there was Argy Bargy in that race as well. Look, that was a bit of a strange kind of race, really, with the hold up at the bend and stuff. But yeah, of course. And he should have probably been in the Champion Stakes. I think he was entered and he didn't get in or something like that.
Well, that's for another podcast.
That's another day's conversation. Yeah, but look, there's just an awful lot to like about him. You can pick holes in these dogs if you really want to, but at the end of the day, he's second favourite in the Derby for a reason,
But and I one thing I would point out, Ian, he's only been in middle seat for 4 runs and he's won all 4 of them. So
yeah. I've said I think he'd win from any trap really once he's trapping, but I think just the 550 at Shelburne Park just seems to be suiting him down to the ground at this stage. He's really come into himself, and I've also made the point, I think those Liminies, every time I've seen them, they just seem to improve for running. I think they sort of really strike their form at around 2 years, and he's just gone 2 years. Moving on, we'll take a look at Jacob Tashidlek, who made it 2 from 2 for Conguiney the other night, Tommy. He's a dog we saw plenty of earlier in the year. I suppose you'd say there was always glimpses of brilliance there, but he used to do silly things at times, missing the kick and running off the corner when finding dogs around him. And he seems to be putting things right at this moment in time. He's brilliant early speed. He's staying the 550 well. And Conguiney is a very shrewd man and knows his onions.
Oh, very much so. I thought he was a certainty the other night because I thought he was sharp enough at traps to clear Craig Moore, who would have been stepping slightly right. I think he's a seriously good dog, actually. He's probably not going to win a Derby. Let's be honest, he needs to sharpen up a little bit more. But as you said, he's been a good kennel, and they'll get the very best out of him. He is a winner in a bit like we're talking about Jackson. I think he's just hit a rich vein of form coming into the Derby. He seems to have found a way to start winning races, and I like that performance the other night because it wasn't one of the softer heats in some ways. I know he ended up making it look reasonably soft, but it didn't look that. Mallows Marley obviously didn't run its race for whatever reason that was. But just the first few yards were the most important, clearing Craig Moore, and once he did that, he was away and gone. I think I like the performance. Resure gave him plenty to think about early, but he was just up to the task. He's an improver. That's what he is, and he will have to improve. Look at 29.50 was a very good run. But he have to show us that he can go probably 25 spots quicker to win a Derby.
Yeah, or show us that he can lead the likes of Explosive Boy and Ballymac Ariel, because when you're in front of that sort of company, it's going to take something to stop you. Sarah, we're both big fans of Resure. He's a good guide because he's been very consistent in his relatively short racing career. He went up very strongly on the outside, but Jacob Tashidlek just put him to the sword very decisively down the back straight. It was very telling from Jacob Tashidlek. Still another fine display by Resure, but really had no answer to Jacob Tashidlek.
No, he didn't, and I suppose that's his inexperience coming into four there as well. Like Jacob Tashidlek is now 12s from 20s. He was 50 to 1 previous to that, so there's plenty of support coming from Con Guiney. What a lovely man. I had never met the man before the Derby, and to be honest, I didn't know too much about Jacob Tashidlek, and I know he's 28-40 in Kilkenny, but I didn't actually know too much about him, and I think he'll get better as the weeks go by because he's going to get more used to running around Shelbourne Park. He wouldn't have a hell of a lot of experience around there. Really, really good win at the weekend. I think he was just outstanding. The sectionals, I think, were a little bit back in the week previous, but I wouldn't mind that too much. Like, he knew where the finishing line was, and he was getting stronger, getting to it. Resure, and Martin Lanny would tell you this himself, he's not taking the bends, that dog, and he's losing a few lengths at the bends, but his pace when he's on the straight is terrific, and he's definitely one to keep out for the future, whatever happens if he gets knocked out at the Derby.
I suppose it was highlighted the other night by Jacob Tashidlek. He's such a professional at this stage. Runs a fantastic corner, and Resure, as you say, staying that little bit wider, lost ground quicker than he would normally lose ground because Jacob Tashidlek is really powering off that bend.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, and again, that's just Resure. He's a puppy. Do you know what I mean? He won the Derby Trial Stake in Shelbourne Park in great fashion, but he's going to get better. There's no doubting that. But I don't think he was ever going to beat Jacob Tashidlek just because of that few lengths that he's given away. And Jacob Tashidlek, he was 4-5, like he justified his short odds as well. But geez, when you think about it, all the hot favourites, it must have been a terrible night for the old bookmakers.
It's good that the bookmaker amongst us here, Tommy, is realising this in the Monday morning, isn't it?
Hey, I don't have to worry about them. I leave that to Damo,
Poor Damo losing sleep over the weekend, and Sarah here, it's going, geez, it must have been a bad ill result.
I'm just thinking about that now. When you're actually on the ground and you're interviewing all the winners, I do come home like here to Dad, and I'd have to go through the race cards with him, and he'd be like, well, and I'm like, you forget what wins because you're in the thick of it and you're talking to so many people and you're trying to get it up on social media, and it's only afterwards when you go, oh God, yeah, he did win. Yeah, like you totally it's just me.
I'm looking just through the prices. There weren't very many big price winners, and even the ones or two that were biggish prices were backed at biggish prices. We're going to just quickly race to another 2 or 3 of those up to about the 20-1 mark, and then I want to rehash a few performances from the second round that caught my eye, and then we'll look forward to the third round. Next up, we're going to take a look at, we've spoken about Scooby Princess. Susie Sapphire, 14-1, Sarah. She's a real little star, isn't she? She's strengthening up all the time. She's only November whelp. She's very much a youngster. On the dam side, she's certainly bred to stay. Her mother was a really top class stayer, both in the UK, and she had won a 750 over here in Ireland before traveling to the UK. But it'd be no surprise to see her strengthening up. But she's electric to that opening corner.
Yeah, electric is right. Another one that was 4-5, another short favourite. 29.50. Well, I don't hide back in how much I love this bitch, Owen McKenna as well. Like, you could see the pictures I put up on social media, the big cheesy grin on him. He absolutely adores her. She's just terrific. She made all. What price is she now? She's 12s from. No, sorry, where is she? 14s from 25 to 1. So. I mean, 340, 17, 12 sectionals. She's doing everything right. Her heat now this weekend, trap 4. I'm a little bit worried about trap 4 for her against these dogs. But again, as we just talked about, Reasure, she faces him. Swords Maestro, Droopy's Yes. Droopy's Yes ran unbelievable as well. And I think Johnny Lennon got all of his dogs through, actually. So fair play to him as well. Grangeview, Mac and Call Me Steve. Look, she definitely should lead her heat at the weekend. There's no doubt about that. There's an awful lot of pace coming at her from behind, but I thought the same last week and she won by 3 lengths. So I think she'll do the same this weekend. It's very hard to keep doing that for 6 weeks, especially for a bitch, but I definitely think she'll do it this weekend and get through to the next round. She's just terrific. Her early pace is just sensational.
Yeah, Tommy, there's something just eminently classy about her. She's real speed. 333 last week. Okay, 340 the other night, but even when she hit the deck at that 340, she got racing very quickly, took it up, was a comfortable length and a half leader. I thought the Burgess bitch in second spot ran a big race, but she really just cruises like a little sports car, and I think she's improving all the time. Don't get me wrong, I thought she'd really struggle to see the 550-yard trip, but I think she's staying a lot better than some expected, including myself.
Yeah, look, she's a 61-pounder, so you would have a bit of concern if she missed it some night, that if she was in a little bit of a melee at the first bend, or a bumping match, that it might affect her. But what I would say is that she has to be absolutely remarkable. And the reason I say that is because we talked, at length about the strength of the bitches from last year coming into this year. And she came from not having raced last year to win the Cup Oaks and win the Oaks against some absolute, like we're going through a vintage era of bitches. I think they're some of the best we've seen for a very, very long time. So for her to come out and to beat them comprehensively, I mean, is quite remarkable. She can win a derby, but as Sarah said, it is difficult to maintain the level that she's producing now. But I tell you, there's just real quality about her. She is staying on well. I don't know what the sections are. I must get into closer detail them over the coming weeks now, but like she's staying well enough. I mean, Swords Maestro had every chance to come and get pretty close to her if he was good enough. I like her an awful lot. I'd say I just worry about the night if she does happen to miss it. Now, look, Owen McKennan's a good enough trainer that he'd have her. He knows what he needs to do every night, just to make sure that she's doing what she can do best, which is getting out of traps. That is key to her because she is quite a small bitch, or in against big dogs in a derby. So if you're a bookmaker, you can't have her much bigger than she is. She's 20s best. I see 16s, maybe that sort of price. You can't have her much bigger than that because she is capable of winning it. But I just have a small concern that somewhere along the line she misses the kick. It'll be interesting to see what happens. If she survives that, maybe she can go on and win it.
Yeah, if she's in trap 1 or 2, she may get away with it, but she's out before the next night, and it's a contest where you have, okay, she'll lead up, Call Me Steve, with one leg tied up, but Grangeview Mac can go up well, Droopy's Yes can go up well, Swords Maestro missed the kick the other night, but can go up better, and we know Reassure's going to go up now. He was not going to be away, he'd stay wide, but it's just one of those heats where if she didn't hit the lids, she just might find herself, it's not that she wouldn't have the early speed to recover, but if one of them drifted off a true line and gave her a little bump, it might be costly to her. But it's an indictment of her that she's only a November 19 whelp, and here she is a 14-1 chance for the Derby. And in theory, she's still open to improvement.
Well, she won't win the Derby if she can't clear Grangeview Mac to the bend.
Yeah, correct.
I think that's fair enough. I think it's a half reasonable test of her. Grangeview Mac did 336 the previous week. I think it's a reasonable test to try clear him. He has 208s kind of done for the 5-5 split. They're not brilliant. They're good, but they're not brilliant. If she can't clear him, she's no business trying to win a derby. I think she will, and I think she'll maintain her unbeaten run through the stake.
Yeah, we'll speak about two warriors next. Two dogs that we're more than familiar with. Droopy Sydney, as I said, I'm more than familiar with, and I call him Droopy Sydney. Deerjet Sydney. I was, of course, referring to his sire. I've often been called Michael myself over the years. Deerjet Sydney, a 16-1 chance, and Ballymac Wild, 16-1 chance. There's nothing either of you can tell us about these two that we don't already know. They're exceptionally talented. It was great to see them both again performing very well the other night. Ballymac Wild was beaten by Scooby Princess. Lost nothing in defeat. The previous week he was again thoroughly professional. But Deerjet Sydney, I would say Team Buckley are just absolutely purring about this fellow this morning. It was a much brighter display from him. We haven't seen him start like that in quite some time. If you actually go through his English Derby campaign, first round of the Irish Derby, the other night he popped the lids, hit the front in what was billed as the hottest heat of the Derby thus far. He turned it into a bit of procession, Sarah, and by all accounts, 16-1 is about right for a dog. When he's drawn near the fence, will take some stopping.
Yeah, 16s from 33-1. I actually felt bad because I didn't rate him in that heat, and I felt really guilty afterwards because I know what the dog is capable of, but I was just zoned in on, Romeo Magico and Beach Avenue, and but obviously a lot of people fancied him, Ian, because he went off favourite. And I think he went as short as 5-4 before the off of his race, Deerjet Sydney did. So there was an awful lot of people out there that actually were punting him and fancied him. He loves the rails. We've seen that as well when he's running across the water. And Emma as well, she's such a good ambassador for the sport, and she was nearly crying with the dog. She just loves him so much, and it's lovely to see. But look, he's a great price, 16s. Again, when we're looking at prices, and you look at Explosive Boy, 7-2 favourite, Deerjet Sydney, he's already won an English Greyhound Derby and he's 16-1, but he's very draw dependent, and that's what puts me off some of these greyhounds, is that he needs the inside all the time. And that's the worry with dogs like that. He's out in trap 5 some night and you don't know what he's going to do. He's going to go straight for the rails and cause argy-bargies. That's the only thing that put me off a dog like that, when they're so draw dependent. But a sensational performance from him at the weekend, and it's great to see him back. He loves Shelbourne Park. He probably was unlucky in the Derby last year around Shelbourne Park as well. So it's just great to see him get through to the next round, and we'll see what he can do now at the weekend.
Yeah, Tommy, he's facing a tough test the next night. Scooby Princess in 1. She's definitely going to move to the middle of the track. Broadstrand Ryan is diving for the inside from 4, but whether he moves as quickly to the inside as Deerjet Sydney, we'll soon find out. But someone made the point to me recently that Deerjet Sydney, while he does dive to the fence, he very rarely finds trouble himself, because he's generally the one causing the trouble. He seems to be a very, very balanced greyhound. He rides bumps well, gets across greyhounds and gets to that fence. Will that be the case again in Heat 3? We don't know, but it was a fine display by Deerjet Sydney all the same.
Oh, I was delighted to see him back. Eddie Lingan, who bred him, is local here. I actually have a greyhound and training with him. I think the draw is tricky next week, Ian. I think the draw is very tricky because Epic Hero showed signs of a return to kind of form that got him to win a leisure last week's run was.
And as we've said before about Epic Hero, trap 2 or 3, that's where he's going to do his starting.
Exactly. So I actually think he's a buffer to Scooby Princess in the sense that he might hold up the other ones coming in on top of her and prevent the potential big clash between the four of them. Who Epic Hero wants to be where he is, but the other three kind of, one wants out, 2 of them want in. It could be a clash. Hence the reason Coolivani Chick is going to qualify.
Hey,
what price did you get her to be top bitch, by the way?
16. I could have probably done it a little bit bigger, but anyway.
She's had 2 listen, she's had a litter of pups, but she's certain to come on for the 2 runs.
I liked her run the other day because she actually, we're not going to be gone on about her. It's more about Deerjet Sydney, but she came back again when she was passed. I like that. She ran on strongly quite again. But anyway, look, Deerjet Sydney was back to somewhere close to his best the other day. It's going to be more difficult next week, and that's what we have to look like. He's gone from 354 the first round from trap 1, 344 last week. He's going to have to do 340 minimum, I would say, to clear these next week.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll race through a few of the heats that I just want to give a mention for. The opening heat of the entire round went to Droopy's Good. He's a dog who I didn't think would say 550 yards in a black taxi, 17-12, 29.62. So the 1250 tells you about him. He needs to lead, but he has blistering early speed, so much to like, winning from trap 5 the other night. He was aided by Glen Quan Pat missing the kick. Tommy, he's a dog with fine early speed. He's going to struggle to win a derby because getting loose against some of the dogs that are remaining is going to be very, very tough. But if you are one of the dogs with early speed at the top of the market, he's not a dog you want to see against you.
No, exactly. He could get in the way a little bit in terms of his early pace. He has done a bit of sprinting. He's fairly handy at that too. He's not going to win a derby, but it was a nice performance. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. It didn't look the strongest. If he's singing along, Sally isn't quite herself just yet. And
But Pat was telling me the other night that she has now dried up and that he'd expect her to come forward greatly for each run. So that's a good sign. Sarah, anything to add there about Droopy's Good?
33-1 from 100-1 for the punters out there who fancy him. Fast away, very, very good performance, 29.62. Another cracker for Owen McKenna as well. As Tommy said, and I was talking to Owen after the race, he ran him in the sprint in Dundalk and then says, here, will we go for the Derby? Sure, we might as well. There's not much else on. And he's now through to the third round. So more power to you, Owen. And I know there's a few people messaging me as well. Like Paul Carpenter.
Paul's the joint owner. Yeah, he's the owner's rep in the UK. He's a real greyhound enthusiast. He's a regular visitor to Ireland over the years.
Yeah, and he's a good supporter on social media as well. Like, and he gets behind us and all the work that we do as well. He's a lovely man. But he put up a video of Droopy's. I forget his nickname for him now. Let's say it's Fred. I don't know what it is, but he showed Fred in a little jacuzzi tub thing, and he put up a video of him. And yeah, it's just lovely. Like, I like to see the behind scenes stuff that you don't get to see and what they're doing at home and stuff like that. So yeah, I love all that kind of stuff.
I bet you do. We'll move on from Fred. We mentioned Jack's little thing. Ballymac Ariel, we've given a mention to. We know she's just a professional. Heat 4, we have to briefly talk about it. Prices jet into machine in a very, very tight finish. Tommy, I'll just leave it nice and short. Right decision, wrong decision.
In what sense?
That the machine he was asked to do one conduct trial, he doesn't progress.
I'm not so sure that the head turned, to be honest about it. I don't know. I have to watch it more closely because I was trying to watch it on a Tibet. The connection isn't great, but I was trying to watch it on the phone. I thought, my opinion of it first time, and if that's the right decision now, was it not the right decision in the first round in Limerick? There's a debate that could go on there. I thought the machine, I actually quite like him. He's a bit of a rogue, we know that, but he has this insane ability. And he when I watched him in the first round, he did something like 29.50, just absolutely cruising along in behind, like, after getting a bit of trouble. He's got remarkable ability. It's a bit of a shame because Price Jet and Sapphire too, they're similar kind of dogs in some ways, that they both have immense ability. And Price Jet might break your heart at times. He's one of those that has broken my heart over the last year or so. The machine, I kind of got used to watch them. I quite liked it. There's a dog in Yaw. He's actually my favourite greyhound in Yaw at the moment, Fawn Roddy, and he's a very similar type in the sense that he's never going to win 6 lengths, like, but he's not doing anything wrong either. Do you know what I mean? What do you think?
Listen, it got very tight. If it hadn't been for the last 3 strides, I think he would have been okay. Just the last 3 strides, just as they're under the lights of the winning line, you can see a bit more of his face than you probably could up to the winning line, is what I'm saying.
I hate to shirk the issue there and trying in the sense, but I literally was watching it on a small screen. I'd expected the machine to be going in across and whatever else and all this sort of stuff, but I couldn't see that. No, I say I don't want to shirk it because that sounds soft, but I thought it was just a machine.
Yeah, no problem. Sarah, we'll avoid you. We'll save you the hassle. You don't have to mention it if you don't want to.
I don't mind talking about it, but look, I watched it live. I haven't watched the replay, right? So, look, it's the manager's decision. You have to go. You have to respect what it is awful. It's very disappointing. Of course it is. And the matches, my heart goes out to them. Like, it is awful. But whether I'm going to agree with the decision or not, it's not really for me to say. Do you know what I mean? I leave it to the professionals.
None of us are stewards, and thankfully we're not.
Yeah, and
I'd still be trying to argue a case for either way.
Yeah.
Moving on to Heat 5, Gord Kelly Nestor. I thought one of the stories of the opening round. Andy Murray has this dog, singing a sweet tune through his career. He's won €17,000 in prize money, Sarah. He just does it all. He starts, he stays. But this was a run on merit. A fantastic performance.
Yeah, 9-1 he was to win his heat. Again, another dog that I don't think we rated him even much in our Zoom last week when we were chatting about it. I think we were all about the Ballymac Fair one and the Catch Me Flying and the top Broadstrand Ryan. Billy's Diva was out of that race, and I hate 5-dog races, but he was absolutely brilliant, wasn't he? 29.75, and that was again, like, I'm getting to meet so many people in this year's Derby. Obviously with COVID as well, you wouldn't have been at the track, and I didn't get to talk to people, but that's the first time I met that man, Mr. Murray, and I didn't even know that he was James's father, James, who's a racing support officer. So, like, what a gentleman. I put it up on my Facebook, and absolutely joy to talk to. He was just, I think he was a little bit surprised because I told him the price of his dog, and he was like, was he that big? Like, so he obviously didn't punt him either. So he's just a fella coming up with his dog, hoping for the best, and now he's through to the third round. So I love these little stories, like, that it's not always about the favourites. It's not always about the big trainers. Up comes Andy Murray from, where are they from? Thurles, and does a big run in the Derby. It's just, I love all these little stories that give us all a little bit of a boost, and the dream is very much still alive for all these underdogs in the Derby.
Yeah, he's an underdog with 17 grand worth of prize money. Tommy, I think what we learned about this heat was that Broadstrand Ryan, that third bend issue is still there.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I mean, if it stopped the racing at halfway, you'd say that he'd have to win it, or at the second bend in particular. But like this, the winner, Gert Kelly Nestor, I fancied him to win the Cork Cup earlier in the year, and he got knocked out in the semi-final and just ran a stinker, to be honest. I didn't see him win the heat of the Derby after that, but he did it on merit. In fairness to him, because you think at the third bend that he's going to be picked up by both of them. And then Broadstrand Ryan, as you said, just that issue is there. Ballymac Ariel was a little bit below best, and Gert Kelly Nestor found plenty, and 29.75 is a decent run. I would have expected the second and third both to do that time easily, to be quite honest about it. So I was disappointed in both of those. But I wouldn't like to take much away from Gert Kelly Nestor. Look, he's not going to win a Derby, but by God, he's been a smashing dog.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. Scooby Princess was next. We've mentioned Ballymac Wild in the feet. Sizzler on the outside. Listen, this was all about the draw. Tommy, he got left in front on the outside, but we know he's plenty fast enough in the straights. It's just the ground he gives away. I thought off the last bend, he was going out into Dublin Bay. 13-1. Good victory for a Cork, Mario Maloney and the likes. All About Ted, I thought, returned to a bit of form in the final heat, but also Epic Hero in defeat. We've spoken briefly about Epic Hero, Tommy. All About Ted, a nice greyhound. If he produced his very best form, he's certainly capable of doing better than 29.61. Just wouldn't be completely dismissive of his claims.
There was a run last year.
It was when he was second in the Winter Racing Festival. He showed unbelievable pace.
Unbelievable pace, and that kind of put him marking down as a potential Derby dog. Now, the first round, you'd say, well, he's got a lot to do to become a Derby dog. That was an improvement, and I suspect he can step up again. Epic Hero ran a cracker. That's definitely a sign of a return to his ledger form. So delighted with both of them. Just to go back to Sizzler for 1 second, because Sizzler is, of course, local, owned by the Maloneys. They've had lots of good dogs, Sonic in particular, one of the fastest in Ireland. They tend to have a good dog all the time. He's probably not quite up to that level, but they'll continue to breed, and they'll continue to have really good dogs. So hopefully Sizzler can go a couple more rounds anyway.
Yeah, no problem. We'll move on to Saturday night, and we're going to start with Sarah, because I know she's a massive fan of both the dog and the owner. We've spoken of Jacob Tashidlek. We've spoken of Deerjet Sydney. We've spoken of Susie Sapphire. So all the way to Heat 12 at Lacazette, Sarah. Noel Neal, he's living the dream.
He is living the dream. What a cracking little greyhound. I said this last week, but I interviewed him last year in the first round of the Derby, Noel Neal, and it was his first time coming up with a greyhound to the Irish Greyhound Derby. So it was great to interview him, and this time around now on Saturday night, it was like he had cameras in his face all his life. He was, last year he was kind of a bit apprehensive, whereas this year it was like, yeah, go ahead, I'm ready for you, So he ran a cracker, and myself and Kevin Hennessy tipped him up. So go me and Kev, 3-1, 29.56. And he had to work a little bit hard too. It wasn't an easy victory. But I really liked him. And that Skywalker Silabich as well, just to note, she was backed in from 8-1, from 16-1 to be the top bitch. Don't know what she is now. I haven't checked the prices this morning. But she was then backed into 33-1, gradually from 100-1 in the outright. There's people out there that fancy her. Look, it could be just the owner. I don't know, but where the money's coming from. But she's still there. She's running very well. And she hasn't actually got a hell of a lot of running. I think she won a stake down in Thurles back in March and then wasn't seen since then. So she's going to be getting stronger as the weeks go by. She's definitely one to be keeping an eye on. And we don't want her winning after being backed at 100-1, let me tell you. But Atlantic
well, you're speaking for your firm. I'm not sure too many people will agree with you. She is lightly raced. She definitely doesn't want to be on the fence. She's in one the next night. She's taking that step right, Tommy. She's very strong. I think, by all accounts, all evidence would suggest that maybe she was in season and she's coming back out of season, because she seems to be strengthening up all the time. She looked a real star in her early days. She has always been lightly raced. So whether it's been season or whether it's been a small injury or not, but she certainly has an engine. Don't get me wrong, she'll need to find 6-7 lengths on what she's doing at the moment to win a Derby, but you couldn't completely dismiss her. But that Lacazette, he was the dog that stood out at a massive price during the week at the various prices available. The other night, it says here, returned 5-2. I'm not convinced that Great Name that himself for 5-2. I could be wrong. Maybe that is the case. So he did come in for support. He was the second fastest qualifier in the opening round. So I suppose there was nothing surprising about his run the other night.
No, actually had a few quid on him as well. I just thought that the draw was pretty good for him, and I wanted to take on Great Name that. Skywalker Hill to run into 2 lengths is pretty good because he's a strong stayer himself. So I think it was a decent performance. Skywalker Hill has only had 8 runs. She's entitled to improve. Probably the Derby is probably a bit too much to expect for her. But at Lacazette as well, he needs to sharpen up his starting if he's going to win a Derby. This 1 middle, 1 wide seed and all that, I don't know if I want to go into it, but anyway.
Oh, good man, Tommy. We'll move on.
I'm afraid to ask about that one.
No, don't ask. Just trust me, Sarah. I know well. You're better off not asking. Maybe after a few pints. Ballymac Ariel, we mentioned Explosive Boy. Those in defeat. No Green Dye is running out of his skin for Laura Earl and Sean Murphy. To be beaten only 3.5 lengths by Explosive Boy, fair achievement. Modron Thunder keeps coming the right way. Galvarino, another qualifier for Johnny Lennon. Sarah mentioned it, that I think all of his dogs qualified. Bright Car Oak running very well for Michael and Shane Carey. That qualified in 3rd behind Explosive Boy. But we now move on to Heat 15. We haven't given a mention to Call Me Steve, Tommy. Call Me Steve. Actually, we'll call you Sarah. Sarah, where are you? Call Me Steve. This fellow was a big price during the week, but the Shrewdies got stuck in. He was returned 5-1 the other night. I thought it was, if you were taking on Pierna, which many would have from the draw with 6 edging inwards, I said to you before racing I was going to Dutch up traps 1 and 2. I did exactly that, and one of them came through for me. Call Me Steve. Very impressive youngster, probably wants further than the 550 yards. If he does go out of the Derby, he'll be thrown into the Juvenile Derby, and he could easily go a few rounds in that also, but he's certainly one to keep an eye on in the future. Over further. Sarah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to Tommy. Yeah, was there money for him on Saturday night?
Well, he's returned 5-1. He was like 10-1 during the week.
Oh, nice one. I wish I knew about that. I would have backed him. I know. Call Me Steve. Yeah, look, he was very good. I was chatting to his owner afterwards, Matt Bergen. He's only January 20.
20, yeah.
Got in there, like, he's extremely young. So, look, coming to the finishing line, I thought it was Pierno's. And I had said to you on the Zoom last week that I would not be backing Pierno at, he was 4-9, I think, at the time when we were talking. And returned, just while I have you, am I going to say he was
10 to 11. 10 to 11.
10 to 11. 10 to 11. Wow. Yeah.
It's just, he was way too short for me. And I was actually talking to Thomas O'Donovan before racing, and I said, I think your dog is far too short. I said, there's just not enough early pace from him. You're relying on him to come from behind to win. And then when he came off the last bend, you're like, all right, he's going to win. And then Call Me Steve just came literally from nowhere. Like, he was way down the field, I think, at the first bend. He was a good few lengths behind, so he made up a hell of a lot of ground. Look, 29.90, I think it was probably the second slowest time of the second round, but sure, at the end of the day, times aren't really much to go on if you're winning. Brilliant.
It's all about progress, Sarah. It's all about being in that three.
And he's going to come on from that. He's going to get a confidence boost, and he's still so very young. So as you said, he's going to have the Puppy Derby and all these other future stakes in the Derby next year. But another one just to talk about is that tradesman for Declan McDonough. I actually, if I was going to back a dog in the race, I would have backed him. But I just think he's a dog that, the way every year when we come to the final, there's always a dog in there that you think never would have gotten there. And it's just plugged through the rounds bit by bit. He could be one of them dogs that will just keep plugging through just based on the pace that he has. And just, he seems clever enough when he's running as well. So, look, I know it's a long shot, but there's always a dog in there that gets through week after week, nibbles through.
He's certainly a dog that's been running very sweet for a long, long time for Shane Coonan and Declan McDonough. My concern is that he's been struggling to see out the 550 the last 2 weeks, Tommy, and there'll be nights where he'll be taking on an Explosive Boy or a Ballymac Ariel and he won't lead, and all of a sudden he'll have a Beach Avenue and a Scooby Princess on his tail. What happens that night? There's
far too much pace left in the competition. It's even though I don't know if we have an absolute superstar in the competition, we have a very high level of quality, of depth of quality as well in the competition. So, and Call Me Steve is a smashing it dog for a January 20. Well, just 8 runs under his belt. He got obviously with his lack of early pace, he had to kind of check around greyhounds. Showed fantastic years. He's not going to win a Derby, and he'll probably always struggle to compete with the very, very best over 550. but by God, he's a fast dog.
Yeah, he'll be one to keep an eye over further. One dog we actually didn't mention, we missed him in the top tier, was Deadly Destroyer. He was a 12-1 chance for outright glory. He had a fairly facile success the other night. It was certainly helped by Trap Joey on the corner moving off, and Ballymac Bean, the Angry Dad, were the real sufferers. Rural Star came through in a second, but Trap Joey ran on strongly. But Deadly Destroyer for Carl Ramsbottom. Tommy, I don't know where his best draw will be, but
yeah,
that's 2 or 3 good runs he's had from the inside, but he does tend to take that step right at boxes. But there's no question he has the power and the engine to go a few rounds and to be a challenger in the latter stages of the Derby. But he just needs to be professional at boxes every night.
Yeah, he does. But you can fairly set your top by him in terms of what sort of section he's going to do. It's around a similar mark in the between the early and mid 340s, which is fine. It's probably as we go on a couple of rounds, I think, as I said, I think there's a depth of quality there that, you'll have to sharpen up a little bit more than that. He is a very, very fast dog. He looked a penalty kick from the draw the other night because of his early pace and getting away, and it just worked out very nicely for him. It was pretty much a soft heat for him as it worked out. I think he's progressed. He'll do better than 29.56. He'll probably get nicely under. He has a 29.24.
He has a 29.24.
24. Sorry, yeah. Like he wasn't at his very best the other night. So I mean, he didn't have to be. I thought it was a perfectly good run. It was like giving him a solo. Yeah. As it worked out. So just if your connections of him, not that you want the trouble in the race, you don't, but you just want your dog to get a clear run and move on, and that's exactly what it was. He's a smart dog. He'll have a tougher task, but he'll hold his own in better company.
Sarah, very briefly, there'll be some party if Carl Ramsbottom wins the Derby.
There will. I hope he doesn't wear his Crocs.
Crocs and socks. I don't mind the Crocs so much. It's the Crocs and socks.
Sorry in advance, Carl. 12-1 from 25-1, Deadly Destroyer. And I actually sent out a press release during the week before his heat. He was backed in just slightly into 25-1 from 33-1. And so now he's only 12s. A terrific performance. Obviously, it was very good. But that performance he done in the semi-final of the Champion Stakes, like in 29.40, we know he can do it. When he gets it right at the boxes, it's all over. But again, like if he doesn't do that and has to work from behind, there's just so much pace left in this Derby now. He's going to find it a lot harder. So he's going to have to keep producing. And as I said, I'm not a huge fan of him out of Trap 1, but as Tommy said, it probably was a soft heat. And Ballymac Bean, he missed the kick. Just to go back, we were talking and that was that, yeah. Yeah, like talking about Susie Sapphire and stuff. When these bitches missed the kick, Scooby Princess is probably the only bitch out there that can put it up against the boys and work and come from behind. But these bitches, and they're not big. Like Ballymac Bean's only 58 pounds as well. So when they miss the kick, it's kind of all over for them. It's hard to compete with the boys when you're not missing the kick. But Deadly Destroyer, yeah, he's terrific. 12-1 from 25-1, big cut.
We'll race through the heats because we're talking a long time. Heat 1 of the third round. Ballymac Wild Trip good. Deadly Samurai, Galvarino, Triangle Hugo, and Sizzler. What I noticed was Triangle Hugo's out in Trap 5. He dived for the inside the other night from Trap 3. What's he going to do from 5? Sizzler is a great draw. Brilliant early speed, and Droopy's good and Deadly Samurai. But you get the impression that Ballymac Wild will stay tight to the fence. He just seems to smell trouble, avoid it. He'll be right there at the finish. You'd expect him probably to land the spoils. It'll be very interesting to see if Droopy's good can clear Deadly Samurai in the opening yards. If he does, he's a big player. Sizzler has a great draw.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Ballymac Wild didn't win the heat, but I'd be absolutely stunned if he didn't qualify.
Correct. Sarah, anything to add to that?
No, I agree with that. I just think based on his performance last week, Droopy's good and he's closer to the fence. He's better drawn, and I think he'll lead up Wild. Samurai, as we see, he's leading and he's not staying. So I'm not going to even attempt to try and price up that heat, but I'd be back in Droopy's good.
Yeah, Deadly Samurai, notable that he went considerably back in his opening round running. You just be a slight concern about that. Heat 2, Skywalker Silla, Razzle Dazzle Peaky, Ballymac Fair 1, Jazz Toes, Cricket Bell at Lacazette. I think it's safe to say there's no real superstars, although Ballymac Fair 1 certainly still has the potential to be one if he produced his best English Derby form. Bit disappointing last week. It's a tricky little race now. 1 and 2 could clash. They want to be reversed. Ballymac Fair 1 has a good draw if he starts. Jazz Toes can go up well. Cricket Bell's a big finisher. And at Lacazette, very well housed on the outside, almost certain to play a big part in proceedings again, Sarah.
Yeah, look, I'd probably tip up at Lacazette in that race, but I'd be afraid of Skywalker still and what she's going to do on the inside, because Peaky, we all know he loves the rails, but he has the experience and more pace into that opening bend. So at a price, I'd say Razzle Dazzle Peaky now could have a huge chance in that heat. At Lacazette, will be putting it up to him at the back straight, but Peaky now at a value. We have to wait till the prices come out, of course, but I reckon he will be a big price. But Atlantic Zet and Peaky, I'll edge towards Zet because I love him so much.
Yeah. Do we think we're going to see the best of Ballymac Fair one time in this derby, or is it still too soon?
No, I think he's a penalty kick next week. I think it's a great draw. Only has to stay out of trouble at going to the first bend. It's all over. And Lacazette has a great draw as well. It'll probably finish second, but I fancy Ballymac Fair one a good thing there.
Heat 3 is not so easy to run your eye over. The one dog that sort of does catch the eye is Coolifany Chick from the outside draw, but Scooby Princess is moving to the middle. Epic Hero will go up straight. Deerjet Sydney straight to defence. Broadstone Ryan straight to defence. It's going to be pretty tight in that inside draw, Tommy.
Yeah, I think Scooby Princess will actually get away with it. I think the draw isn't as bad as you think first straight away, because I think Epic Hero is the buffer. But preventing maybe Deerjet Sydney and Broadstone Ryan both getting across. Coolifany Chick has a great draw. She has a good chance of qualifying. I'm not saying she's certainly to do so, but if I was to back one now, I would back the top.
Okay, Scooby Princess. Sarah, it's very hard to call a winner in this heat, but
yeah, it's extremely hard. The Scooby Princess obviously done 28-13 from Trap 1, but that was down in Limerick. Can she do it from Shelbourne Park? I'm not so sure. I hope she does. It's very hard to call that race. Something that maybe at value, I'd say Epic Hero. Because he's getting better as the weeks go by.
Oh, that's that it really is the meat and the sandwich draw. You know what I mean? I don't know where he's going to get the run. Something's going to hit him.
Yeah, but he's very good at coming from behind. He's very clever. I'm just saying, look, there's going to be trouble in that race. I can just sense it. Broadstrand Ryan is going to be going in as well. I just think Epic Hero is nearly clever enough. He won't be breaking as fast as the others, and he might just get a lovely run in behind. But
I can promise you one thing: you get a nice price for your money. That's the main thing.
Look, sure, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Like, hey, Coolifany Chick now in 6 could run a huge race too.
Yeah,
she's well drawn.
I think if you could freeze our reaction when you said Epic Hero.
No.
I know, and I wouldn't mind, because at the start of the Derby, I was like, I think he's better suited to Limerick. I don't think he loves Shelbourne Park as much as the Southern tracks. But he's kind of proven me wrong now so far in this Derby. But yeah, I give him a chance.
No, Sarah, the fact that Ian and myself made that reaction means you're going to be right and we're going to be made food.
Oh, absolutely.
It's okay.
You've heard it here first. You've heard it here first. Epic Hero's a certainty. Moving on to Heat 4. Heat 4 features, a couple of nice types. Spinosaurus and Trap Joey are two nice strong runners, but then things really start to heat up. Jacob Tashidlek is in 3, Explosive Boys in 4, Ballymac Ariel's in 5, and Price's Jets in 6. It just gets more ridiculous every time you name these dogs. Tommy, it's just that's the type of heat you want to see during a derby. Unfortunately, we're going to lose 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 big names. It's red hot.
It is, yeah, but you have to say that Explosive Boy will be favoured if that was a 338 last week, and we know he's capable of that and better. He's on the right side of Ballymac Ariel. He's always going to be considered inside the middle seats. Ballymac Ariel, I think, will get a good toe into the race. I think it's a cracker. I don't think there'll be much in it. I think this I like. Oftentimes we build up a race on what it looks like on paper, and it doesn't work out that way. I think this will. I think Explosive Boy will lead Jacob Tashidlek, and Ballymac Ariel will be close enough. Join second kind of around the bend. I think she might just be hard to hold.
My fear, and it really is a fear, that is Jacob Tashidlek is 3 parts of length down into the opening corner. He has in the past run straight off the bend. I am very concerned that something will happen on the outside. Sarah, it's a red hot contest. We just want them to all get around that corner unscathed and then see which is the best.
Yeah, of course. Look, Explosive Boy, it's hard to oppose him in that he just based on his early pace, isn't it? So I'm going to go with him, stick with the favourite, and Ballymac Ariel for second. And I think it'll be a battle for places. Unless Priceless Jet gets a clear run, he should get through. But after last week, I hope, that he's not a bit kind of shaken up or you don't know how dogs take these things, so, or maybe I'm just being too dramatic. But yeah, Explosive Boy to lead and make all. And I think Ballymac Ariel will just get in her position, runs like she always does. And if she's, as I said earlier on, if she's a length or half a length off his arse coming home, I would pick her. I know you said she was.
Would you stop talking about Explosive Boy's arse?
No, you said she was. He was actually faster coming home than her last week. I didn't know that. That's actually quite interesting to know. So, but look, I'm still going to stick to my guns. But Explosive Boy to win is the short answer.
It's the end of a long answer. It's the end of a long answer, if you don't mind me saying so. Talk about making a long story boring. Heat 5.
You're supposed to be nicer to me, you know.
I was doing so well.
Have you not watched this before?
After the hour mark, it's just like, you know, it's free for all. Heat 5, Deadly Destroyers in 1, Sing Along Sally in 2, Craig and Moore, Amethyst Luke, Gunboat Showman, All About Ted. It's one of those heats where if Deadly Destroyer hits the lids, he'll probably take some stopping, but Sing Along Sally won't make life easy for him in those first few strides. All About Ted, cracking draw on the outside. Amethyst Luke ran well the other night, surprised me from the draw. It's a contest where the outsiders in the field can play a part, but you'd have to be looking at Deadly Destroyer, All About Ted. Tommy.
Oh yeah, big time, big time. I think Sing Along Sally would have to return to the kind of break she produced in Tralee, was it? Mm-hmm. In the final in Tralee. She'd have to produce that sort of break. I think if she did, she'd probably come across Deadly Destroyer and it'd probably bump a little bit. But I think he's probably too sharp for her at this stage. You said that Pat had told you that, you know, he expects Sing Along Sally to strengthen up a bit. I don't think she'd be strengthened up or sharp enough. Sorry. I don't think she'd be sharp enough to lead or even impede Deadly Destroyer early. So I think he leads. All About Ted, probably follows him round and finishes second. And Sing Along Sally probably third.
Sarah?
Yeah, we all seen how fast Craig and Moore came out in the opening heat.
From that draw as well.
Yeah, so if he produces that along with Deadly Destroyer, because Deadly Destroyer, I'll have to watch the replay again. I do think he comes off the fence a little bit. So if the pair of them come out, they're going to cut off Sing Along Sally. So she'll have to absolutely bomb from traps to be in with a chance here. And it's disappointing because I want her to get through. She's brilliant. Look, All About Ted for me in that. I tipped him last week. And I think he'll win again. I think it's that easy. I think he's after winning now in Shelbourne Park. He knows what he has to do. 29.61. I think he's going to get better, because he's after coming back from England, and that's hard on some greyhounds to go from different tracks. And obviously you don't know how much it would have taken out of him with travel and all that malarkey. So I think after last week's winning performance, I just really, really liked it. And Peter Cronin obviously thinks a lot of the dog as well. So he'd be the one for me in that heat. Yeah,
he certainly has the makeup for the cleanest of runs. Moving on to Heat 6, Carrigaline North, Ballymac Ariel, Brycar Oak, Kilbannon Psycho, Pierno, Gord Kelly Nestor. It's one of those heats, Tommy, where you can make claims for 3 or 4 of them, but Ballymac Ariel is the most lively leader up the inside. Carrigaline North is running very, very well. Kilbannon Psycho is badly housed. Pierno might have a better makeup tonight than he has done the last 2 weeks, and there is a ping in him. It's just a case of when it's going to come. And Gord Kelly Nestor on the outside, well, I know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to go up well, motor down the back and stay. He's just one of those greyhounds that he generally does the same running.
I thought Pierno ran a super race the other night because of the 6-dog coming right across him early. He actually showed a lovely injection of pace after having to kind of let the 6-dog across. He showed a lovely injection of pace. And then to get to the front, I know he faded a little bit late because of what he had a fast finisher, calling me Steve beating him. I actually thought that was an encouraging run from Pierno. He's not exactly what you'd call a winning greyhound. He's 1-3 only, but he has serious ability. I think he could probably win this heat. I don't fancy Ballymac Ariel to come close to winning the Derby. I mean, she's been running brilliantly and she probably has a chance in this heat, but I think she's going to find her if she gets through this week, I think she might struggle the following week. I don't think she's up to that sort of level. Pierno will be a much bigger price this week than he was last week. And I think maybe he might be a bit of value.
Yeah, I have a feeling he won't be that much a bigger price.
He won't be 10 to 11.
No, he won't be, but he's got one that's going to catch the eye from the draw. And I have a feeling he could be popular. Sarah, do you have any strong opinion in this race? Obviously, you're a massive fan of Ballymac Ariel.
Yeah, and like sentimental feeling aside, she's the fastest dog on paper here, really, like with her early pace, you know. So I just think she's the one to beat, but she has to just open up a nice enough lead because there's just far too much pace in behind her. Ballymac Ariel to win and Gord Kelly Nestor to put in a huge performance. And again, just to agree with Tommy, Pierno did run a brilliant race last week because that 6-dog literally came over on him and Pierno had to change position and he was all over the shop. So
just glad you didn't fall off your chair there. So.
Yeah, they're looking at me like, would she ever shut up? Yeah, so those 3 for me, and not to take away from the other dogs in it, of course. I do have people coming up to me, you know, in Shelbourne Park. You never mentioned my dog in Zoom, or you never rated my dog in the paper. I just say so. Well, thanks for watching, but like,
welcome to our life, Sarah. We've been getting that for 20 years.
It's hard to please everyone, isn't it? But anyway, yeah, Ballymac Ariel to win again. Short answer, Ballymac Ariel.
Tommy, we'll move on to Heat 7. Jack's Little Thing to win. Beach Avenue perhaps come through for second spot. Is that what we're thinking?
It's an unbelievable draw for Jack's Little Thing. Very short
draw,
price. Very
short.
Price.
He'll be the shortest price favourite of the third round, you'd imagine, Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd say so. Yeah. He's got a terrific chance in that race. Again, that Monrod Thunder, and I mentioned him last week. Now I know he's beaten 5 lengths by Ballymac Ariel, but there's a lot to like about that dog. And Graham Hull, as I said before, he always has these dogs that come in under the radar. Do you know? And he's only got 7 or 8 races, 3 wins.
He's a lot less races than his age. Like is he a June or something like that? So yeah, he's very likely raced. Yeah. It's Jack Little thing to win, and Beach Avenue, No Green Dial both be finishing fast, but you'd suspect maybe one of the inside 3 could make the frame. Tradesman, Monroe, Thunder, Coulivan, Sando. And on to the final heat of the round. We've spoken of Susie Sapphire, which she's out in trap 4, 1 Call Me Steve, 2 Grangeview Mac, 3 Druppies Yes, 4 Susie Sapphire, 5 Swords Maestro, and 6 is Resure. So much depends on Susie Sapphire at boxes, Sarah. If she hits the lid, she'll be hard to beat.
Yeah, it does, and we touched on this already. If she doesn't break, it's too hard to come from behind these dogs. So look, she is very consistent at the trap, so I can see her lead, but she will probably lose a few lengths trying to get to the rails then, and then that's going to give Resure a chance along the outside. And Swords Maestro, if that wasn't a one-off performance, is 29.51. He has to be given a big chance as well. The 2 on the inside, well, actually that Grangeview Mac has got serious early pace. He could be a shock result there, actually, just looking at him. I know he was beaten a neck after leading, wasn't he, in the opening round to Malix Marley, but that's actually a very competitive heat.
Yeah, it's a quality heat, Tommy. There's a lot of quality on display.
Yeah, if she gets around the bend in front of Susie Sapphire, she will win. I don't think they'll come from behind her, because I think they're tight enough that there could be a bit of bumping in behind.
And she's very quick. She's also very quick down the back straight. We haven't really mentioned that.
Yeah,
she's done 17-12 to that third bend. Like, that's top racing.
But I know she's not, you say she's not quite getting 550. She's doing it well enough, if you ask me. If she gets out in front, if she leads, if she gets to clear around the first bend, she will win.
Don't be putting words in my mouth. I said she's staying a lot better than we all thought she would, or that I thought she would. I didn't say she's not staying it now. You get me in trouble. McKenna be bloody texting me. He texted me a picture of her in the jacuzzi the other day. Like Sarah talking about Droopy's good, and he said not bad for a bitch that doesn't stay winky face. I was like, yeah, don't be winking at me, Owen. Don't be winking at me. Anyway, Susie Sapphire is my selection also. I think she's pretty much electric at boxes, and I'm hoping that she avoids traffic problems. I think it could be a real battle for second and third in that contest. But as we keep saying, it's all about progress. Anybody with a dog in the third round will take third spot. Am I right in saying that, Sarah?
I'll just agree with you with everything from now on.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Tommy, would you take a similar line of thought?
No, I wouldn't agree with you with many things.
Before we go, I just want a quick mention. I know we've talked a lot here this morning. Okay, welcome back, Tommy.
It's all gold.
Tommy really recharged his batteries over in Tibet. Magical Mary did 28.10 the other night in Limerick. You look at it, first race debut, a March whelp, you think, wow, like that's pretty sensational. Then you go, oh, maybe the track was flying and all that. Like about an hour later, Pat Guilfoyle is speaking on Talking Dogs TV, and he's mentioning about Explosive Boy, and I had sent down the line through the producer, ask about Magical Mary. And he said, we always knew she was pretty good. Yeah. A couple of weeks back, she really pushed Explosive Boy in a trial. Where does Magical Mary go from here? I don't know if you had a chance to look at her, Tommy. Make sure you do. 28.10 on her debut off a 145 start. So she's probably given them 20 spots at the traps. It was pretty sensational. This lady is one to keep an eye on.
We'll probably be crabbing her now for the next year, saying she's no good anyway. I'm just watching it. Actually, she tracked really, really well around the opening bench. It was tight. There was plenty of competition there. You love to see it from a bitch on her very first run, or a dog, anything at all, non-binary, but like he. And to actually with dogs on the outside to actually drive through. So yeah, it is. And she scraped the paint off the rails a lot of the way. So she's a serious inside bitch. Wow. I hadn't seen that, but that is unbelievable.
Sarah, did you get a chance to look back at her?
Good old Tommy Bolton. I mean, that Limerick track has never been as well, I think, since he went down there.
Oh, be careful now. There was someone doing it before Tommy. Remember that? Janie Mack, you get yourself in trouble.
I know, Tommy's a grafter. Not you, Tommy Bolton.
Leave me alone, would you?
I'll stop the lights. Obviously, I didn't watch the read. Oh, Damien Lonigan. You'll have some crack next week. There'll be no fence sitting next week. Yeah, 28-10. I didn't watch the replay, I won't lie, but looking on paper, she won by 14 lengths. Was she a Droopy's Jet? She's just she's going to be another Ballymac Ariel, isn't she? Remember when in her early career, she done 27.94 or something, and we've been talking about her ever since. So, Magical Mary, step aside, Ballymac Ariel. Magical Mary's coming through.
Magical Mary, she's well named. There's been plenty of fast magicals over the years. Perhaps the Magical Mary is up there with the very best of them. But that's it. We've spoken of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby second round. We will be speaking about the third one next week. Sarah's already after letting the cat out of the bag. It'll be Damien Lonigan. We're going to let him out of his hole up there in Dundalk. He's going to be allowed on the Zoom room speaking to us, and hopefully we'll have lots of brilliant performances to look forward to. But that's it. Again, my thanks to Sarah Kinsella, adding a bit of glamour to the podcast, as she asked me to say earlier on, and to Tommy Lyons. Welcome back from Tibet. Get back to a bit of meditation. You'll be way in a hack. That's it for me as well on this Monday morning. Best of luck to you. We'll see you next time when we'll be talking Derby.